Good morning and welcome to the Pittsburgh Current podcast. I am Pittsburgh Current editor and publisher Charlie Deitch, here with you on a cold, wintry Beachview morning. Although at least it's not icy today as it was the other day. We got our, well, some of us anyway, got our first taste of a Beachview winter coming up the hills with a little ice on the ground. We got a good show today. We are going to be talking to Keystone State Wrestling Association owner Bobby O about their upcoming Fan Fest. Fan Fest and Toy Drive this Saturday at Spirit in Lawrenceville. We are the official media sponsor. We're very proud to be part of that event. And we're going to talk to Bobby in a minute. But first, at the Pittsburgh Current, we have our gift guide coming up this coming Tuesday. So be sure to check that out for some holiday gift ideas. But we also have a number of other events going on. And so I would love to bring in my partner, Bethany Rue. The alluring Bethany Rue.
That was like a side combo that we had.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a new Pittsburgh Current perfume coming out just in time for the holidays.
Currently alluring.
So we have a ton of events coming up, including and starting with tonight, are currently at, which is our monthly happy hour series where we go hang out in one of our featured neighborhoods. Tonight we will be in Polish Hill at Rock Room. It's going to be me, a bunch of our writers, our music writer, Mike Shanley's going to be there. Our food writer, Haley Frederick's going to be there. So you can come and just kind of hang out with us and chill, maybe pitch us your story ideas or tell us that you want to, see something in the paper and we'll try to make it happen for you. And we'll also be giving away a pair of Craig Ferguson tickets for his show tomorrow night.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm a very generous. I'm alluring and generous.
The alluring and generous.
Bethany Rue. So, definitely stop down. That's from 4 to 7 at Rock Room. There's going to be drink specials. Nigel will be behind the bar. She was actually in the Polish Hill story. Mm-hmm. She's awesome. So please do stop by and see us. The other event that we have going on, or coming up soon, I should say, is our Merry Giftmas, which is Thursday, December 13th. That's at Sing Sing. And so what Merry Giftmas is it is a gift exchange party. So it's a $10 ticket, and for your ticket, and there's a link in our Facebook event page, for your ticket, you get your first drink for free. Mm-hmm. The Sing Sing's going to put out a holiday snack buffet.
Wow.
Yeah, and you get a chance to win our super mega gift bag, which is going to include a bunch of prizes worth hundreds of dollars, and I'll tease one of them here for you. We have a pair of Penguins tickets.
Wow.
I know, and I feel like
pretty amazing.
Yeah, and they win a game or something. So I think that the gift that we could give the Penguins is our love and support.
And by the time the tickets they'll be in for a game in 2019.
Yeah.
By the time that comes around, I'm sure they'll be back in the mix.
We'll be heading to the Stanley Cup again.
Exactly.
As we do.
I'm no Brain Metzger, our hockey writer, but I feel that the Penguins are going to be on an upswing soon.
I do. I feel like that too because they're the Penguins. So for that event, you just bring a gift worth $10, gender neutral, and you put that gift down. You get a ticket when you come up and you pick your gift bag. It could be a gift that somebody else brought, or it could be the super mega gift bag. So,
yes.
Yeah, and that's going to be a great time. We're going to put a bunch of prizes in there, and we're going to have other prizes to give away throughout the night, and probably have more drink specials by the time we get to the event. So make sure you get your ticket now because there's only limited tickets available, and come and hang out with us and get a Prezi.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Those I love a secret gift exchange.
Yeah, like what are you going to get? You don't know. Because it's a secret.
And if we're throwing a super mega alluring prize package in there.
Alluring, and it's going to smell fantastic.
Lure. We're going to lure you in. Is that right? Lure for the lure? Not LORE, the story.
And then two other things. We have our Currently Lit going on right now, which is our Christmas light competition. And we've been getting some great submissions. I love to see how just insane people get around the holidays with their lights. And I'm sure Duquesne Light as well. It really appreciates that. So, But make sure you're taking pictures of your holiday display. Tag us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and hashtag it Currently Lit. You're going to win an awesome trophy that you could brag about all year round.
Yeah.
And then Jake, our visuals editor, is actually going to come and do a professional video sort of montage or something of your display, and we'll have that up on the website. So
and I mean, you're going to decorate your house to ridiculous heights anyway. You may as well win a little something for it.
Yeah, if you're going full on Griswold, you should promote that.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Otherwise, you just look like a psychopath. No, so make sure you're doing that. And then the last thing I want to mention is, did you know you could sponsor this podcast if you were an advertiser and you were so inclined?
Out of town.
I swear to God. Do you see where that little Sorgatron logo is? Am I pointing the right way? Am I?
That's perfect.
That's amazing. I should do TV. So yeah, anyway, so where that logo is, you can have your logo right there. We get thousands of viewers and listeners every week, so it would be awesome if you guys wanted to be a part of it. Shoot me an email, Bethany@PittsburghCurrent.com. Love to talk to you about that. And I think that's all I got. Charlie, am I missing something?
No, I don't think so. On a other event of the weekend. Of course, we're going to talk about KSWA Fan Fest, but on Sunday, and we featured this show in our most recent issue of the Pittsburgh Current, but in my opinion, one of the best shows to come through town every year is the Reverend Horton Heat's Holiday Hayride, and that's going to be at Jurgles on Sunday, starting at 7 o'clock. We did a feature. I did an interview with Junior Brown, who will be opening that show for the Rev, and he's one of the most amazing. He plays this contraption that is both an electric guitar and a steel guitar at the same time, and he's just an amazing talent. And so it's really, it's always a great show. Big Sandy and the Fly Right Boys will be there. So will the Blasters and the Reverend, and that will be at Jurgles in Warrendale. And the show hits different locations every year, but it's really a great show. And if you're a fan of rockabilly and that style of music, Americana, you should really check that out.
And you have a write-up on PittsburghCurrent.com.
PittsburghCurrent.com for all that information and other things to do this weekend.
There's lots of things to do this weekend, and you're going to be talking to the owner of one of the very cool things that is going to happen this weekend.
And we're very excited. Speaking of that, Bethany, thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie. I got to go, everybody. Bye.
That long bye threw me off. But, yeah, the other thing going on this weekend, of course, is the major event, in my opinion, and that we are proud to be the media sponsor of KSWA's Fan Fest and Holiday Toy Drive. And joining me live is the owner of the KSWA, Bobby O. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Charlie, I appreciate you having me on the podcast. I thought we were busy at the KSWA. Then I hear Bethany run down those events, giving us a run for our money there. We greatly appreciate you guys being the official media sponsor of KSWA Fan Fest.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and this particular show is for a great cause, and I'm a long-time wrestling fan, so Bethany knows anytime something wrestling comes on the pike that I'm going to try and get our name out there. And I guess to put it in perspective, Bethany is like she's our commissioner, so she's taking care of. And put it in wrestling parlance, Bethany's the commissioner. But so, Bobby, let's talk a little bit about the show coming up this weekend. First, let's for a little background for those that don't know. Tell us a little bit about the KSWA. You guys have been around for 18 years, something like that, going on getting close to 20 years. Tell us a little bit about KSWA.
18 years. You're correct, Charlie. We are born, bred, and based in Lawrenceville, or at the Spirit Hall. That is our base of operations, but we do travel elsewhere within the city of Pittsburgh, without the city of Pittsburgh, though. But we've been pretty successful. We are the Spirit Hall, the Spirit Lounge. Our friends at Spirit Pizza brought us back in. It used to be the old Moose Lounge, which was one of our original homes. We've got a great relationship with our friends at Slice Island, so that's where we're based out of. And you mentioned it's been 18 years. I haven't been there all 18 years, but it's been a great run. We've had our busiest year ever, Charlie. We had 24 events. This will be our 24th event on Saturday night. So it's been a great year as far as that goes, and we hope to finish it on the first with a bang. Yeah.
How many were you guys doing back the first few years, even maybe the first 5 years? How many shows were you guys doing, and then, or was the promotion doing? And then, did you expect it to grow into what it's grown into, not as far as number of shows, as far as length of time you've been around? And you guys are sort of the there are several promotions, and I think it's great that Pittsburgh has a very rich independent wrestling scene. I think that's fantastic, but especially in the city of Pittsburgh, KSWA is one of the first names that people sort of link to professional wrestling. So did you think the KSWA would be at this, would have grown this much in that period of time?
always hopeful. That was always the goal, Charlie. And, it goes, it ebbs, and it flows.
Yeah.
Back in the day you're talking about, we had 8, 10, maybe 12 events sometimes. We actually, our stretch goal was to get 26.
Mm-hmm.
So we almost got to the stretch goal. But we're very proud, you talked about it, to be identified as Pittsburgh's professional wrestling organization, because we kind of pattern ourselves after the great studio wrestling back in the day. We pay homage to that, and we try to mirror that. So we're great to be affiliated with the city of Pittsburgh. We love that. We love to be, in and out around the community of Lawrenceville. Many of us I'm born and raised in Lawrenceville, so I'm particularly proud of that. And it's just a whole lot of fun. We'd hoped, again, anyone hopes when you get into a business or an organization like we are, that it grows, and it happened to really take off the last couple of years, which is great. Can't not thank our fans enough for that, the KSWA crazies, as we affectionately call them.
Right.
We can't thank our partners such as you or the Spirit Hall, and that all makes it go. And when you have that kind of support, that kind of loyalty, it makes your work even that much harder.
All right. And so let's talk about the genesis of FanFest and the holiday toy drive. When was the first one of those, and what was sort of the what was the genesis for that project?
It's our chance to give back.
Yeah.
First and foremost, it's threefold actually for me. I'm involved in this because, like you, I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
So we get to bring in stars like Nick Aldis and Sam Adonis and the great JJ Dillon, JJ Dillon. So for FanFest, we always do that. So as a wrestling fan, check that box off for myself. The two better reasons, I think, are we're able to give back. Number one, we give back to our fans. We give a lot away. We give away a ton of free stuff. We have Chinese auctions and things like that going on, but we just give stuff back. So number two, it's a way to say thank you. And you talked about the toy drive, and we ask anyone who comes to our show on Saturday, you bring a new unwrapped toy. We collect bins and bins for several years now. I want to say 8 to 10 years we've been doing this to give to underprivileged children and teens in and around the area with Children Youth Services from Allegheny County. So that's another way to give back, because we're community oriented. The community supports us. Our fans support us. We love to support them right back, Charlie.
And this show has really provided a lot of great moments over the years. This is sort of the show where not only is it a great card of wrestling, you also bring in a lot of special guests, and of course we'll be talking about this year's. But this year, well, so for this year's sort of, sort of the top of the ticket here. What we're looking at is really, and we're going to talk a little bit about the individual match, but we're also going to talk about, really, it is sort of what has been the last year or so, maybe a little longer than that. Sort of the resurgence of the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, which, in my opinion, I grew up here, so. WWF was now WWE, of course. That was sort of what we got, and then when cable came, and Saturday mornings we would watch a Jim Crockett Promotions show, and all of a sudden there's the NWA with guys like Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Manny Fernandez. We're seeing all the Andersons. We're seeing this new thing, and it really is sort of when you think of. Historically, when you think of, probably the greatest wrestling promotions, at least in terms of prestige, I think the NWA, even though it's had some down years, I think of the NWA as sort of the pinnacle of that. You will not get one argument from me on that, Charlie. 605 Saturday nights when I was a youth. Yeah. TBS, you put wrestling on, and the NWA was paramount to that promotion. And this belt specifically, just the history of some of the people. And I'm a Ric Flair fan. Ric Flair had it, and Dusty Rhodes, and Harley Race. Nick Aldis has done a great job. Yeah. You talked about it. Billy Corgan bought the NWA, and Nick Aldis has done a great job of having this belt become resurgence. He's making it relevant again. He's done a great job of defending it, and that will happen against Sean Blanchard on Saturday, which we'll talk about. But a lot of people who are new to wrestling, because it's so dominated nowadays by WWE, may not realize what the history is outside of what Vince McMahon and the WWE does.
But this belt has such prestige and such history, and it dates back to the 50s, and it's been defended many, many times in Pittsburgh. So it's just great to be a part of that. And, selfishly, as the owner of the KSWA, I'm hoping that belt stays with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so let's get into that a little bit. So, as you said, the resurgence of the NWA is due a lot to current NWA champion Nick Aldis, as well as wrestles by the name of Cody, but Dusty Rhodes' son, Cody Rhodes, and the All-In pay-per-view that happened earlier this year. It really sort of stepped the NWA up to a level that, I think that is a nice jumping off point platform to jump off from. And then after Cody Rhodes won the title, Nick Aldis won it back a short time later, and now he's been defending the belt, and he's been defending it all around the country. And it's really nice because it really gets back to that. For those that don't know, wrestling was definitely wrestling was a territorial system, and and so each area had its own promotion, it had its own promoters, and these titles, as the NWA title, would travel in between these territories. And that's kind of, Bobby, what Nick Aldis has been doing, correct?
You're absolutely right, and you hit the nail on the head, Charlie. The fact that they were able to bring that All-In pay-per-view together with the Young Bucks and Cody. I made the mistake, too, in an interview earlier the week calling him Cody Rhodes, but he's Cody Rhodes
right.
now. So
yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Winning the belt, the significance of that is his father, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, was so involved, excuse me, in the NWA and that championship. So that pushed it further into prominence. And then I think, it's becoming the belt, maybe the independent belt outside of Ring of Honor in this country going around. And Nick Aldis, again, is the current champion. So that kind of took the resurgence that it had been getting and pushed it over the top and maybe back into the mainstream. So we're very proud that we're able to have this match on Saturday.
So the match will be NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis versus KSWA. I mean, Sean Blanchard's been with you guys. Sean Blanchard's been there since day one, right? And he's going to get his shot. He's going to get his shot at the title. So when you're making this match, why Sean Blanchard? When you know you have the champ coming in, what makes you decide, okay, Sean Blanchard's the guy to try and bring this home for Pittsburgh and for the KSWA?
That's a great question, and you're not the first person who was asked that. Let me just go on record and say this. I do not agree with the methods and the shortcuts sometimes that Sean Blanchard takes. Mm-hmm. But his resume and his record is unparalleled, multi-time KSW heavyweight champion, tag team champion. He's had so many belts. He's such a great wrestler.
Right.
Regardless of his methods, Charlie, his passion is unquestioned. So we took that all into account, the fact that he has been so successful, the fact that he understands the prestige of this belt, and his track record as a KSWA megastar, and the championship committee and myself agreed that he was the deserving candidate. We had several candidates other in mind. David Lawless, who's our current heavyweight champion, Mitch Napier, who had a long championship run. He's going to get a chance to try to win his belt back. Those two were first and foremost on the list, but we just looked at the overall picture and thought Sean Blanchard was well deserving of this opportunity.
I think when you're talking about a historic, I think it kind of makes sense from the standpoint when you're talking about a historic sort of title. I mean, you may as well put, the guy who's got the history in the KSWA and a history in the city. As you said, KSWA is, the title is known as one, probably the biggest wrestling title in the Commonwealth. I believe I have that correctly.
It is. It's certainly the most important title.
Yeah.
Throw into the fact that you're talking about the history of this NWA championship, Charlie, that Sean Blanchard has a relationship with James J. Dillon.
Right.
He won the KSWA championship with James J. Dillon a few years ago in his corner. So you add that into the mix, maybe that's an obstacle that Nick Aldis can't overcome.
So let's break that down a little bit. So after the title match was announced, I think that was announced first. It was then announced that again, Google James J. Dillon. Again, as for those of us that, again, at 6:05, as we're, we know the legend of the Four Horsemen. James J. Dillon was right there. He goes down. He's a Hall of Fame. He's a Hall of Fame manager. And he's one of the most well known and one of the most successful wrestling managers, I think, in history. So how did this sort of pairing come together with JJ and Sean?
James J. Dillon, WWE Hall of Famer. He's in the KSWA Hall of Fame as well. He had a track history of being involved in studio wrestling in Pittsburgh. So that's why he ended up in our Hall of Fame. But, Sean, this is what the great thing is. And as I mentioned earlier, Charlie, I'm a fan. We're fans. That's why we're involved in this business as well, into bringing the KSWA. We get to meet a lot of people and a lot of our heroes, if you want to call them, growing up, a lot of the legends. And James J. Dillon was one of them, arguably the manager of the greatest faction ever.
Sure.
At least I'll argue for that in the Four Horsemen. And we just crossed paths at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, which had previously been in Amsterdam, New York. And, he struck up a conversation. We respect the history of this great sport. And, you start talking and you have similar interests. And you say, hey, JJ, would you be willing to come up for a show? And he does. And then he finds similar interests with Sean Blanchard. And then he manages him a couple times. And, you build that relationship. And Sean and JJ have built that relationship. And, Sean is going to use anything. And trust me, I mean anything to his advantage, Charlie.
Yeah,
including JJ Dillon.
Yeah, and JJ Dillon, again, when you look him up, he's no stranger of getting involved in matches. He's obviously has no qualms against that. It will be interesting to see what kind of factor he plays in the match on Saturday, December 1st at Spirit Hall. It is the KSWA Wrestling Fan Fest and Holiday Toy Drive at 7 p.m. Like I said, December 1st at Spirit Hall in Lawrenceville. And you've got a pretty stacked card here. Let's go up and down the card a little bit and take a look at some of these other matches. And then I want to close out with talking, since I got you, I want to talk a little bit about NWA history since I got a fellow fan here. But so let's look at the KSWA heavyweight title match. You've got a three-way match, right? Correct? With David Lawless versus Mitch Napier and Dennis Gregory. Talk a little bit about that match. What's the history that has brought that to be a three-way match for the title?
Well, Mitch Napier was our longtime defending champion. And earlier in the year, the Gavel, David Lawless, one of our new megastars, struck a deal with the VIP, Sean Blanchard, first and foremost. And they kind of did some dirty work, and he was able to take Mitch Napier out. David Lawless cashed in his contract, wins the KSWA Heavyweight Championship. Mind you, he's done a great job of defending that. But then Mitch Napier had his rematch in his back pocket, and he asked and was granted his rematch at FanFest. In the interim, Dennis Gregory and I have had several run-ins this year. He is physically, we've had some physical confrontations, some verbal confrontations. He took me out in Verona earlier in the year. The championship committee wanted to suspend him there, but I talked him out of it. Wrestling involves testosterone and muscles and all that, so these things happen. But he did it again in our show in October at Hot Shots in Mount Pleasant, so he was suspended. The Gavel, David Lawless, using his prowess as a lawyer, not as a wrestler, got Dennis Gregory unsuspended, added to a show in Sharpsburg. Dennis Gregory did not have a match at FanFest. The card was made while he was still suspended. The Gavel and Dennis Gregory made a partnership, and then the Gavel wanted to get Dennis Gregory on the show. So he pushed my buttons, and maybe a hot-headed decision by me, but we threw Dennis Gregory in the championship match. I mean, his resume deserves to be in there as well. His methods, maybe not. His manager, Mayor Mystery, definitely not. But it is what it is, and those are three deserving megastars in this triple threat match.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Mayor Mystery. The guy's kind of a jerk. I've had a couple of run-ins with him myself over the years.
Those are your words. This is me silently agreeing with you.
Yeah, that guy. I tell you, I think I got it out for him. So maybe I might, if I see him getting, maybe I might step in a little bit and take care of him myself on Saturday, because we will be there. Pittsburgh Current will be there on hand, and we'll be handing out copies of the Current, and we will be doing some social media live from the site. And you can come up and talk to myself and Bethany, and we'll be glad to talk about the Current, and I'll be glad to talk about wrestling as much as anybody wants to. But yeah, I've known Mayor Mystery for quite a few years, and yeah, the guy's kind of a pain in the ass.
I can't say it any better than that.
So let's move on to the KSWA Golden Triangle title match. So again, for those that, I know the titles have their own significance. I hate to compare one to another, but for those out there that might only be aware of sort of the larger promotions, would this be your U.S. title, your Intercontinental title, sort of your number 2 belt?
Exactly. It is our second most important belt next to our KSWA Heavyweight Championship. And we put it off as that. And this is you can introduce the competitors, and I'll talk about that. But this match is, I think, a great match as well, in addition to our heavyweight championship.
Yeah, and it's Anthony Alexander against the international superstar, Sam Adonis. And so let's talk a little bit about these guys and sort of how this match got made.
Anthony he was one of our megastars and one of our great megastars. And it took a hiatus for a while, came back and has been very successful, captures the Golden Triangle Heavyweight Championship, and excuse me, he's been very successful defending it. Sam Adonis has made a name for himself in addition to being from a wrestling family and being the brother of Corey Graves. Has done a great job in Mexico and CMLL and also in Pro Japan Wrestling. So he's an international superstar. He came and wrestled for us in July in our Brawl Under the Bridge show in Homestead in front of 800 people, and it was just a great show. He put on a great show, and we thought he was deserving contender to come in and take on Double A. Double A realizes that too, but he assures the crazies that he's going to come away with a championship. So Sam has done a great job traveling. He's a local guy, and right now he lives up in the Munhall and the Homestead area. Yeah. And he's happy to be around. And once his schedule was kind of settled, we asked him, "Hey, you want to come to FanFest? You want to wrestle for a Golden Triangle Championship?" Didn't take very long for the answer to come back. Yes, Charlie.
Right, and he sort of made a splash in Mexico, correct? Yeah. Wrestling as he's someone who's a big fan of our president Donald Trump. Yeah, pro-Trump character.
Yep.
So what do you know of his time? What do you know of his time down there in Mexico?
Pretty timely, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
And that's kind of a way to get people to draw heat. He carries around an American flag with a picture of Donald Trump on that. So judging, and believe me, I'm far from being the most political guy. But if I want to judge that, you're probably going to get a 50-50 split.
Right.
Kind of like things go in the country. So I said this earlier in the week, and I'm going to just leave this out there again for you, Charlie, and for our fans. We may or may not see that pro-Trump character on Saturday.
That'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how that goes over in Lawrenceville. That'd be worth the price of admission alone.
We like to call that a tease.
And let's talk about. Before we get on to the rest of the matches here, let's talk about admission. Are still tickets available?
Tickets are available. We sold out of our ringside front row seats. Good for us. Maybe not so good for all the fans. Right. Adult general admission is $10. Kids general admission is $8. Those are our normal prices, by the way. The ringside is just a special for FanFest, but there are tickets available. You can call the KSWA 412-726-1762. You can see us, get in contact us through KSWA.net. We're on the social media platforms as well at KSWA Wrestling on Twitter, KSWA Wrestling on Facebook as well. You can hit us up that way. So there are tickets still available. My advice is to get them, right? Because we are, we've had to turn people away, unfortunately, in the past. That's great because we sell out the Spirit Hall, but the fire marshal says you can only have so many people, and we do creative math when it comes to that too, Charlie. But we can only put so many people in that building. So get your tickets and come early. We have a special. The bell time is 7, which is normal. The doors open at a special time on Saturday at 5 o'clock. Great,
and there'll be plenty of other things to do. Like I said, there will be giveaways. There will be an auction, and so folks can come in and take advantage of some of those things as well. So KSWA Tag Team Title match: Cash and Star against Hunter and Morris. So I don't know much about this match. Is this a rivalry match or just sort of a?
Yeah, it is, Charlie. It became a nice rivalry over the summer. These guys have hooked up and clashed several times. Chris Cash and Shane Starr, of course, are sometimes managed by myself, and we kind of broke in to the KSWA at the same time when we kind of evolved together. Those two have grown up. I have not. But Morrison, Harley Morrison, Zach Hunter have come up there. They're from West Virginia, and they've done a good job of building chemistry first off as a team, and then they've taken big chunks out of each other during the time. We've had several matches, outdoor matches, where they've gone off the top of U-Hauls and buses at each other. So it's been a pretty intense rivalry. Cash and Star have retained the championship until now, and we'll have it going into Saturday, but we'll see how that plays out. Worthy contenders, Morris and Hunter. The one other factor is in November, Shane Starr had his shoulder injured by Dennis Gregory, and he assures me, I talked to him earlier in the week, he assures me that he's fine, but until we can get an official sign-off by our medical team, that'll be the final push in that match. But he's going to want to go regardless, but that's a great match, too, for our tag team championship.
And then we move on to the KSWA 5-star title match. Bubba the Bulldog, who's been in the scene for many years, against Brohemoth.
A big personality versus a big human being. Brohemoth has been with us now, probably going on 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's been, the fans have really taken to him, and he's done a great job, I think, with this. He initially was in a feud with Mitch Napier to try to win the KSWA Heavyweight Championship, and those two actually became allies. He's a big challenge for anyone, and anytime he's in there, he's going to be a big challenge for Bubba the Bulldog, who has Mayor Mystery in his corner.
Right.
Bubba is a big-time personality, and you talked about it. He's been around the independent wrestling scene here in Pittsburgh for a long time. We're proud to have him in the KSWA. He came back and actually became tag team champions with Dennis Gregory. They lost the belt to Cash and Star, and then Bubba won our 5-star championship, and he's done a good job of defending it. I just wish that he wasn't so loud. He stands right next to me, and I can hear him, but, he has to be out loud. So it's a big challenge for Bubba, but his experience makes it a worthwhile match as well, Charlie.
Absolutely. And then we come down to sort of the sort of specialty match on the card, which is the Steel City strap match, Yinza versus Lou Martin. And I guess that's just like a sort of historical strap match where we're tied at the wrists, I hope, and not anywhere else. That could be a little painful.
Tied to the wrists, although those other regions, quote unquote, are probably in play as far as this go, but they'll be tied to the wrist. These two have been going at it for almost a whole year now. Lou Martin, for several years, Charlie, has proclaimed himself as the face of Pittsburgh. Yinza, of course, is the Pittsburgh luchador. He's got a great fan support behind him as well. Lou Martin, in VIP Dr. Devastation ways, attacked Yinza from behind with that strap, which he's done. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. The self-proclaimed face of Pittsburgh versus the Pittsburgh luchador. I'm not trying to influence anyone, but one of these two, whoever wins this match, could be a potential cover boy for the Pittsburgh Current. Just saying, Charlie. Just saying.
They're going to reach that level of height, right? Could be the face of the Pittsburgh Current, or the face on the front of the Pittsburgh Current.
Well, one already thinks he's a cultural icon. The other one could be a cultural icon. So that would make sense to be out there. But, it's spilled over. The strap is yellow, too, so that makes sense. Black and gold, black and yellow for the Steel City strap match. So, let them take their aggressions out on each other. That's going to happen Saturday night.
Now, is this a pinfall or submission match, or is this a touch four corners strap match?
We're still undecided on that. It could go either way. We'll see on Saturday once the competitors arrive and see how we want to go. So we'll make that decision before then and let the fans know before the match starts. So either way is fine with me.
Yep. So, and we were talking about KSWA Fan Fest and Holiday Toy Drive this Saturday, December 1st, 7 p.m. Doors open at 5 p.m. Tickets still available. $8 for kids, $10 for adults. And in the past, this show has sold out, as Bobby O just said a minute ago. And it's, I think the year that George the Animal Steel made an appearance, you guys had there were a couple thousand people easy there, right? And a good chunk of those had to be turned away. Yeah,
unfortunately, we had to turn people away from that, and again, we're limited to what we can do because of the fire laws, and safety is a big factor too. Yeah. So hate turning people away, but that's why we advise come early, get your tickets early. If you have a ticket, if we get to a certain level of pre-sales, then we'll know, hey, this show is sold out. So, yeah, but show up early. We will have some tickets available at the door should we not sell every one of those tickets beforehand.
Okay. And two things. Like I said, I want to talk about the NWA history of the NWA just a little bit more. But I want to ask you, earlier this year you had a card to benefit Lord Zoltan, Ken Jugan. Kenny Jugan is just a great individual in this backer of professional wrestling, and just a great person. I actually met him and got to know him in the years when he would do Def WrestleFest in Pittsburgh to benefit Western Pennsylvania School of or something like that. But his sons both went to that school, and he did the annual fundraiser there. Was always a pretty good star-studded card. So Ken has been a big part of this community, and this was to help Ken sort of offset expenses. Ken was diagnosed with cancer, and he's been going through that fight. Could you give me a little update on Ken, how he's doing?
I sure can, Charlie, and I appreciate you asking that. It was. First of all, we were involved in Def WrestleFest, so that's a great thing. And arguably, Lord Zoltan, one of the maybe the most important independent wrestler in and around. So we had to have him on the roster. But we had that show for Ken, Lord Zoltan, and then maybe 2 months after that, he finally was able to have successful, and I cannot emphasize that enough, successful surgery. He beat cancer before. He had successful surgery. So he is well on his way. He's doing better. As far as that, you can see him on Facebook as Lord Zoltan, Ken Jugan, Lord Zoltan. Reach out to him, let him know you're thinking about him. But he's doing better, so I appreciate you asking that.
Absolutely.
The surgery was successful. You talk about his sons. One of his sons, Adam, is one of our referees. So that's a great thing as well. But thanks for asking that. And also, Charlie, that that's one of our niches. Is we love to do benefit shows.
Right.
We do a lot of those every year, and that's another way for us to give back as well. So thank you for asking about that.
Absolutely. So you guys do fundraisers for various organizations and schools and different things, and so they should definitely reach out to you for rather than a candy sale. This is a lot more. Right. This is a lot more fun than selling almond candy bars. I'll tell you.
You can buy a hoagie, or you can buy a hoagie and watch wrestling.
Exactly.
That's a win-win. Right?
That is a win-win. Believe that is absolutely a win-win. So I want to talk to you about and if Sorg would like to also jump in, I wanted to get your opinions on talking about the NWA. Is it that cut and dry of a situation? Is Ric Flair the greatest NWA champion of all time? Or are there other names that you can sort of put in there? And then also, I just want to kind of get your thoughts on some NWA moments over the years that you guys may remember. But is it that cut and dry? That's the NWA champion that most people remember. But there are other names in there too, like Harley Race and going back Luthez. I don't know if anybody here had ever seen Luthez. But so what are your thoughts on that? Is it that easy? Is Ric Flair the greatest NWA champion of all time? I'm
going to answer that question with a yes. I'm going to go back to that. I just wanted to throw in quick. We talked about the other matches. We have 2 other matches. We have a 10-man, 5-person on each side tag team match, which we had. Each team has over 1,000 pounds, so over 2,000 pounds. So that's like a ton on each side of this ring. With the returning great superstar Tarantula. So we've sent out for some reinforcements for our ring, and then our other match has a decorated veteran and our Hall of Famer in Tommy Pham, a VIP member, Charlie, taking on Trick McSorley, who's looking to score a big upset. In my opinion, and I'm biased because I am a Ric Flair guy, I think, Lex Luger's nickname was the total package, but I think Ric Flair brought the total package into the ring. But you talked about it. Luthez was a great wrestler back in the 50s. He had the NWA championship. Bruno Sammartino actually wrestled Buddy Rogers for that belt before their big match when Bruno became the WWF heavyweight champion over Buddy Rogers. So there's that history. If people can't tell by looking at Sean Blanchard's facial hair, he's a big fan of Harley Race, and Harley Race is, in my opinion, one of the, if not the toughest to ever enter the squared circle, and he's had that belt. And then you throw in Dusty Rhodes, and even Nick Aldis nowadays defending it, bringing back into prominence. To me, and my biased answer again, Charlie, is Ric Flair is the greatest. NWA champion, but that doesn't take away from the great number of superstars who have held this belt.
Right. So, what do you think? I mean, is it that cut and dry? Do you think Ric Flair is probably the greatest NWA champion of all time?
Yeah, I'd say he'd have to be because I kind of anecdotally, I didn't grow up with the NWA. It just wasn't on my television growing up, right? I didn't have access to it. But, hearing the stories and everything about, like, the way that, like, Ric Flair could come in and basically make a town. Because the NWA, is not like a classic like you see it on TV every week. It was it traveled to towns, much like it's doing here with the KSWA, and it feels like they're kind of returning that thing where like Nick Aldis or Cody Rhodes or whoever has the belt is going around to these other promotions in these other towns, and it's becoming that alliance like it used to be, right?
Yeah, it's really, you can watch wrestling on TV but watching wrestling live, local promotions, it's so accessible. I mean, you're not gonna, be standing. If you want to meet the guy you met in the ring, there's a good chance you're gonna be able to meet him after the match, and you're gonna be able to talk to him and ask him questions. So I have to say, for my answer, I think you probably have to say Ric Flair, but I will say my favorite NWA champion of all time. Because it was one of those when I was, again, watching Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions, when Hands of Stone, Ronnie Garvin, came off the top of a cage, I think, sunset flip on Ric Flair and won the title. It was one, I think I was maybe 12. My brother, I think, was 8 or 9. It was one of the greatest days of our young lives to watch Hands of Stone, Ronnie Garvin, beat Ric Flair for the title on Saturday morning TV. They showed it obviously delayed, but it was one of. So Ronnie Garvin, I think, goes down, even though I think I think Ric Flair may have been his only title defense, and he lost the belt almost immediately to Ric Flair. But that was just one. That's one of those moments that made me sort of really be a fan. That's when I was like, yeah, I'm an NWA guy. I'm definitely a Georgia Championship Wrestling guy, I think. So that was the moment for me. What about, is there a favorite? Do you have a favorite or a favorite NWA moment that you remember, Bobby?
I always liked the battles with Nikita Koloff trying to go at Ric Flair.
Yeah.
I remember the Ronnie Garvin moment, which is a great moment too. I think the chase of that title, to me, actually, Ric Flair would defend it. And defend it well, but I love the guys chasing him.
Yeah.
I'm a bigger guy, and I'm a Dusty Rhodes fan too. So he was always one of my favorites as well. There's just a long list of people with that title. I remember at the beginning, seeing some matches with Harley Race, but then I think Ric Flair kind of brought that into his prominence. And again, defending it on Saturday morning. Yeah. I'd watch it Saturday morning and Saturday night again.
Right.
Don't judge me. That's just how great wrestling was back then. I think you made a great point, too, when you were talking to Mike, Charlie, about kind of bringing it back to the way it was when the territories were around, and you'd waltz in with that belt, you come to a territory, and that would elevate the belt as well. So we kind of got that going on Saturday too.
Yeah, and that's really cool. And I think that I think that wrestling is sort of I don't know if there's ever going to be another WWE, but I don't know if there has to be, because as long as you've got a territory system. Yeah, Mike.
From the chat room, we got Matthew out there saying Kerry versus Rick. I think Kerry Von Erich is who we're talking about there.
Yep.
As a good moment.
Yeah, that was definitely a good moment. Kerry Von Erich obviously had the Von Erich family. Another great Google, if for those of you who don't know, VONERICH, the Von Erich family. It is the tragedy story of professional wrestling.
There is, if you have WWE Network, I think they do have the WCCW documentary on there that talks a lot about the Von Erich. Right. It's not a pleasant story, but it is the history, and it's an incredible story.
Yeah, and again,
it's tragic and short. Charlie, you make a great thing, and I just realize my own mortality, and the older I get, the more often I say Google it. So that's how times are changing.
Go to the library, get an encyclopedia, and then look up, and you won't see anything about professional wrestling. So at least with the internet, we at least have a source nowadays.
Hey, I used to get pro wrestling books out of my school library.
Did you?
They had a book on Hulk Hogan.
Wow, yeah. I think we had a Hulk Hogan book, but the magazines back, like again, you just go on the internet. No. But the wrestling mags back then, we had just every month I bought The Wrestler and Pro Wrestling Illustrated and Inside Wrestling every month, and it was just, and that's how I'm like, where the hell is all this other wrestling coming from that I've never heard of, I've never seen, and that's where, that's where my sort of love, when I finally found it on the dial, that was when it was just the best.
That's how I discovered it. Somebody gave me a stack of like the Pro Wrestling Illustrateds I'd never heard of before, and I'm like, what is this War Games thing that's happening? And everything like that, like with the go ahead.
Us reading wrestling magazines back in the day is akin to us walking 5 miles uphill in the snow to school.
Exactly.
Yeah, to work for your fandom.
Exactly. And I will say, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, Inside Wrestling, the former, was Bill Apter the publisher, editor of those. He's a KSWA Hall of Famer, correct?
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a great guy too. I sat there just in I know my family will agree, maybe not agree with this, but in silence, because sometimes it's hard to shut me up. Just listen to his great stories. Our Hall of Fame photographer, Howard Kernatz, as well, was one of the great photographers whose work showed in all those magazines. So he tells great stories as well. But yeah, go after Howard Kernatz, and that's how we got our information. I can't wait till the next month for that to come to the store, and then I read, man, they booed Andre the Giant. What's going on here? So that was just a great way to grow up as a wrestling fan as well. And then
you see you saw what was going on in Mexico and Japan, and you're like, holy cow! Like this isn't just us watching, Big John Studd and Andre the Giant. I mean, there's other stuff going on out there. Not that wasn't a great. Those weren't great matches. I love those matches. Again, as a kid. Anyway, you look back at some of that stuff now, and you're like, why didn't I catch on to something way back then? But it's just a great. Pro wrestling is just a great thing, and that's why a lot of us appreciate what you guys at the KSWA are doing. And if you've never been to a KSWA show, this would be the one to come and check out. It's KSWA Fan Fest and Holiday Toy Drive, Saturday, December 1st, 7 p.m. Doors open at 5. Bobby O, owner of KSWA, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for letting us be a part of this as the media sponsor. And I guess we're looking forward to a great show on Saturday.
Well, we sure are, Charlie, Bethany, Mike. I appreciate the opportunity for you guys letting me come onto your podcast here for the Pittsburgh Current, talking about it. We certainly are very appreciative of your sponsorship of FanFest, and we hope to see everyone. And we can't have everyone, but we hope to see everyone come and look for a great time on Saturday night at our FanFest show. Thanks again, Charlie.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you very much. And for those of you that don't make it, I will do a complete write-up, and then I will put it in a magazine. You can read about it 3 months later, which is what we had to do as kids. So by Valentine's Day, I'll have that reported for you, the results of KSWA. But we will on Monday. We will have a roundup of the show, and we'll probably have some images and maybe some video from that. So we're looking forward to being on the scene there. So man, I could sit here and talk NWA wrestling all day, and I really got a lot of things to do, but I would give them all up just to sit here all day and talk about. That's the only, I couldn't live without my iPhone, and I couldn't live without the expanse of cable TV, but I would go back to the 80s, just like the late 70s and 80s, just to watch professional wrestling again, because I really, again, for someone my age, that was really the heyday for me. So yeah, anyway, this has been the Pittsburgh Current podcast, and I am a dreamy-eyed Charlie Deach thinking about wrestling past. So head out to FanFest this weekend. Go to PittsburghCurrent.com. We do have an article on there about it. You can find information there to get tickets to our Merry Giftmas show, Merry Giftmas party on December 13th. You can go to. We have a link on our website and on our Facebook page, and we are looking forward to a great weekend around Pittsburgh, and we are looking forward to next week's show, and we will see you right here next week. This has been the Pittsburgh Current Podcast.